Two 7-7 NFC teams who will solidify their spot in this contentious playoff picture.
David and I break down this single game FanDuel primetime matchup in an in-depth format that will give you all the important stats that you need to be considering when building each and every single one of your single game FanDuel lineups.
Welcome to DFS Insights. I am David Geistlinger, and I'm joined by my cousin, David Grant Jr. The teams up on the block are the New Orleans Saints at the Los Angeles Rams. But before we get to this game overview, we like to, do a quick recap of. We're going to do a recap of the Sunday Night Football lineups. David, how do we do?
Yeah, we had another week where we did provide the community with a free winning lineup, so that's always exciting. If you would have entered in one of those lineups, you would have doubled your money. And by the way, how did some of your other lineups turn out? By the way,
Pretty good. We were watching it basically unfold. The last basically 2 minutes of that game, the optimizer, I had basically 75, I think, percent of the 100 lineups I did. Oh, I did 200 lineups, but in the I'm fine tuning it now. But I was in first place, and then that last touchdown, kind of threw that off there. But made money on one set of 100 lineups, and I lost about $3-4 on the other set of 100. So not too bad. Still fine tuning it. So hopefully this Thursday night round will be a little bit better. But enough of that. Let's go ahead and kick it over here to this this general overview of the Saints versus the Rams here, and I'll let you go ahead and start it off if you want to.
Yeah, at first glance, I was almost thinking like, oh yeah, these teams, don't really seem to have much playoff hopes. We've been covering a lot of the NFL, but we honestly haven't covered really, I don't believe, either one of these teams yet. And so after double checking, I was quite surprised. To see again both teams here at 7-7, and both definitely. This is a huge game. I mean, this is definitely a huge, meaningful game for playoffs and whatnot. So I'm actually looking excited. I'm very excited for the matchup. Obviously, I'm going to be going for the Saints, mainly because the Rams are in my division as a 49er fan, so go Saints. Taking a look here at the spread, it's looking like we got the Rams favored by 4. I mean, that would sound right.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, sorry. So I was looking on there, it looked like I saw -4, and then on the other side, -4. But anyway, -4.5. His glove was kind of in the way with the white thing. Which, hey, quick side note, I think you and I were talking about it. You mentioned me about the tight ends with the Kelsey brothers, with the gloves, and how he has the gloves to match the team's jerseys to be able to get away with some of that holding calls, to not be seen. The gloves up there being white, and the white up there made me think of that. So that was so just some extra knowledge out there for some of you rookies. I'm not even a rookie, and I learned quite a bit there. But hey man, this is gonna be a great matchup. The Rams got Matthew Stafford. Their running game's really looking great. Having Cooper Kupp back and looking like the Cooper Kupp of old has definitely been a huge help. The team's just been looking much better as of late. And as far as the Saints go, I mean, Alvin Kamara, to be honest, is one of my favorite running backs as well. I mean, he's always been a beast. They got Tyson Hill, who, can play any position basically. So I think this game will be pretty run heavy. Um, they want to control the ball. All the stats here look pretty close. These teams are pretty evenly matched up. It'll be interesting to see, who they played and whatnot. How do you kind of see the overview here?
The record's both 7-7. Strength of schedule wise, Rams had the harder. They're sitting at 12th hardest, while the Saints are the 31st. So second easiest schedule as of so far. I think the Rams are doing pretty good. I believe they've won 4 of their last 5 games, and the loss came to the Ravens. And I believe the Saints are on a 2-game win streak, if I'm not mistaken. It's definitely basically win or go home. Saints are fighting for the top spot for the NFC South. Excuse me, they're currently tied, I believe, with the Buccaneers.
The Bucks.
And then the Rams they're basically fighting to stay in the wild card. They're not going to overtake the Niners there. With that, at least it's going to be a contentious game. We're getting to the point of the season where it's either going to be a mini playoff game or it's just going to be, what rookie's playing the most snaps kind of thing. So I'm glad at least this is another decent matchup. But let's head over and start breaking down these players so we can see what's really going on here.
For sure. I'll go ahead and kind of, I guess, kick things off with the quarterbacks. With Derek Carr, I'll go ahead and start with him. He's at 14,000 for salary. I believe he was injured, and that was, kind of some of the issues, but I just had higher expectations for him, I guess. And, it seems like he has come on late. As you mentioned, a win with Atlanta, a win against Detroit. I'm sorry. A win against New York, a win against Carolina. And again, decisive ones, 24-6, 28-6. Their other win was Chicago, 24-17. Indy, 38-27. Minnesota and Detroit. Detroit was a close game, 28-33. So, kind of from what I'm seeing, it looks like the Rams are ranked 28th and allowing just about 2 touchdown passes, over the last 9. So he definitely, could be viable, even in the MVP spot. Obviously, most of the time, most quarterbacks are, unless your name's Zach Wilson. And then, of course, you have your mom have to come out and say you've been playing concussed and all that. But anyway, the Rams are also ranked 29th and allowing 37.1 pass attempts over the last 9 games. So, definitely viable. It'll be interesting, with Matthew Stafford being 15-5, and I do see their route being more run, like winning by the run, and so, basically, New Orleans allows, around 20% more fantasy points to quarterbacks when they are away. That's pretty heavy. And I mean, they're averaging 40% more fantasy points against non-divisional opponents. So, just some numbers to kind of pay attention to. Stafford has a higher ceiling, obviously, which is nice. I think we're going to see not a ceiling game. I think we're going to see a more controlled, playoff atmosphere type game. sorry for some of the rambling there. What are your thoughts on the quarterbacks?
Yeah, continuing on with Stafford. Yeah, so I think I don't know. It's hard to tell with him because it's like, what Stafford am I going to get? Am I going to get that, Stafford 25 for 33, completions, 25 fantasy points Stafford, or I'm going to get the 4 interception Stafford? It's kind of, he seems to have done a lot better this season with at least interceptions, or at least, lately in the early season it was like 2-2, it seemed like he was throwing it. I didn't know if maybe the other team had similar colors on. So I think also in these later games too, they're establishing the run too, so he's still throwing quite a bit, but a lot of that pressure is being taken off from him. Not to mention he has, Cooper Kupp and Puka. I forgot his last name.
Nakua?
Thank you, Puka Nakua. Now he's turned out to be, a godsend for them, at least especially when Cooper was healing up. So, yeah, I think he's definitely, in the contention, definitely for the MVP spot. Derek Carr, that's also a thing. Is he going to throw interceptions? Is he going to get hurt? It seems like he's getting hurt every other game. So with that, I'm be more looking at him in terms like, I would like, obviously, we'll talk about it later, but one of his receivers is out, Chris Olave. But even though
that'd be huge.
Yeah, even though last game versus the Giants was his best game all season, and it was the first time he broke 20 fantasy points. So keep that in mind.
Wow.
The Rams, they do give up quite a bit, but I can see this going either way. I could see it, being a shootout, and I can also see it being, both running backs are very viable. So, definitely have a few lineups with Carr as MVP, and even in the lineup as well, and similar to Stafford too. But that's really it. I think I would give the edge definitely to Stafford in this matchup. Paying up to $1,500, that will hurt a little bit, but I think it's definitely worth it. The ceiling on Stafford is just there.
I agree.
So then moving on over to the running backs. So we got the highest person right now on the slate, Kyron Williams, sitting at $16K, and this is the only issue is game log trolls are just gonna see the first person and just drool over these. Not only is he getting targets, he's getting touchdowns, receiving touchdowns. I'm really focused here on the run attempts. 27, 25, 21, 16, 20. 150 plus yards, 100, So not only is he getting the attempts, he's actually making the most of those attempts. So that's insane. He was targeted. So what do I have here? 7 red zone targets, 2 TDs, 20 rushing red zone attempts, 2 TDs. Freaking. So 16K, he's definitely the play. I'll probably have him in definitely an MVP spot in a few lineups, and I don't know if I'll be able to pair him with Stafford just because of the salary wise. I might play him as in him pairing up with maybe a defense and a kicker because they're going to be ahead, and then maybe utilizing the other opponents receivers because they're going to be playing catch up. They're going to utilize him because they're ahead, basically, kind of, and hopefully he snakes in a touchdown or two. Kamara, I've had him in several year-long fantasies, and he was a beast. I think he started off pretty rough. Actually, not too bad. Maybe he was suspended for a few games, I think. I think that's what it was. but yeah, it seems like he's being used. Kamara's everybody. He's not only in the run game, he's definitely one of those pass catchers as well. So I definitely see Kyrie Williams. I'll definitely pay up to 16K. It's just I think I trust the Rams offense a little bit more than I trust the Saints at this point, and so nothing too much, other than the running. Kamara will definitely be in lineups, but it will be more of a situational play and how I kind of what my game script is going to be for that particular lineup. But I'm not gonna fade it by any means. Moving down, I mean Royce Freeman. I believe he got a touchdown against Arizona, but maybe Dallas in the beginning. So yeah, I mean, I don't really see him as an option. I mean, Kyrie Williams is getting 25 touches a game, so there's really no room for a second.
Yeah,
so,
I know, right?
And then I don't even know the running back two for the Saints, if it's is it Taysom Hill or is it moving down.
Jamal Williams.
Oh,
but,
Jamal Williams. No, that's right. I like Jamal Williams. He was at Green Bay. It doesn't seem like he's been utilized. He did really well in Detroit. I was going to say I don't know why Detroit let him go, but then obviously they have Gibbs and Montgomery. But yeah, I like Jamal Williams. It's just I don't think he gets utilized all that much. So yeah, how do you see these running backs? I'm definitely going to be using them. It's just probably not as much as.
It's like you said. I'll be under the field on Alvin Kamara for sure. Mainly because of my game script. Also because for 1,000 more you get Kyron Williams, who the red zone information is just screaming off the charts basically. So I would rather find a way just for that extra 1,000. Again, unless I'm building a different type of game script lineup. So, I'll have much more exposure to Kyron Williams. I'll have him at MVP. I will mix it up and also have him not an MVP. So, he is movable. He's the highest priced guy on the slate at 16K. Something kind of interesting is I was looking at projections. Obviously I use multiple websites to see some projections, and honestly, going all the way back to the Seattle game, way back, I'm talking like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 7. The first 7 games of the season, he was projected for between 4 and 6 fantasy points. He exceeded that. Every time he was projected, whatever the number was, he was exceeding it, pretty consistently. And when he does, he really exceeds it. And again, I'm making a general statement, but and especially just as of late, he's just he just is a big part of their offense. I think Kupp, with having Kupp and Nakua both out there does help open up the run game, just like having a great run game opens that up. Taysom Hill, while he is, considered a tight end, I'm going to mention him here only because he does get in for a quarterback play once or twice. He does get in for a run play sometimes once or twice. So because he does a little bit of it all, I will be having some exposure to Taysom Hill. I think he is a great tournament play because he is, at 10K, he is just the right amount to get people to stay off of him, because again, his floor is low, but his ceiling is high. That is the definition of a tournament pick. His price is high enough to keep people off of him, not wanting to mess with that variance. But I mean, opponent ranked 31st, you know, what he's going against, according to Fanduel. So, I mean, there's no better time than now. And, you know, checking out the game log, you know, it looks like he's due. So, you know, I'll definitely have some exposure to him. As far as the other RB2s for both squads, I won't be. I already have other plans and they're not involved in it. So I think with that, we could hop over to the wide receivers. I'll go ahead and let you start with the wide receivers, just, you know, since I, you know, was kind of running with that. So yeah, how do you see these wide receivers playing in?
All right. Well, yeah, I'll just start with the Rams. Starting with Cooper Kupp. Well, we don't really need to go over that too much. I mean, he's looking like last year. You know, before his injuries and stuff. It seems like he's back to back over 100 plus yard games, 8 targets, 10, and then another 8, 3 touchdowns in the last 3 games. Basically 1 touchdown per game. So it does look like, and that's going against according to FanDuel's, the number 1, number 2 defense, and the Cleveland Browns and the Baltimore Ravens. So he's definitely going to be utilized. It doesn't even look like, you know, regardless who's guarding him, he's going to get production. So keep it in mind, he is 14.5, so he is valued, you know, pretty high. But if you did decide to go off Cooper Kupp, moving down here to Puka Nacua, who's just come into the NFL like a freaking freight train, it was just like, you know, I don't even think, you know, Cooper Kupp, like, yeah, okay, he was injured, but, you know, when Puka was getting 20 targets, 15, 10, 11, you know, obviously now that Cooper's back, he's, you know, dropped below double digits, but he's still sitting at 8 or 9, it looks like. But now, you know, a little bit more mouths to feed, but he's still there. He's still getting targets. He's still catching them. He has, it seems like he has a spectacular catch at least once a game. You'll see him, and I think it looks like he might be due for a touchdown here. Hasn't had one in about 3 games, so 2 touchdowns last 5 games, it looks like. So hopefully he does it. The only other person actually there's 2 people. It looks like Tutu Atwell is going to be available coming off a concussion. Definitely was the wide receiver 3 in the situation, so he is a good value play at 7,500. Keep that in mind, but also this DeMarcus Robertson guy, it seems like he was getting quite a bit, 3 touchdowns in the last 3 games. So yeah, he seems like a pretty viable pick. 8,500. Definitely will have to, you know, work him in a lineup, you know, or 2 there, and then there should be, I think, one more. Ben Swosnick. I was looking at him prior to the Atwell news coming out that he is, you know, he's basically available. So I'm a little bit less on him, but I might throw him in a lineup just as, you know, utilizing that 5,500 salary there. So
yeah, that because as we know, there could be a guy who's 5,000 or 5,500 who is what we're being told is not going to be in the game, and ends up getting in the game and scoring a touchdown and, you know, breaking the slate.
If you didn't know, that's Jamal Agnew from the Jaguars Eagles game, who to every single website that I look at for information had him out, not, you know, zero production, 0 whatever, and he ended up getting it. I did the math in the 100K tournament. Out of the 45,000 entries, 750 entries had him in it. So obviously those were the top slots. But moving on, here. Definitely for the Saints wide receivers, keep an eye on the news from Chris Olave. He is definitely one of Derek Carr's favorite targets. Even though Derek Carr had his best game, he threw 81% completion rate last game without Olave. So I think with him back, if Derek Carr has a decent game, he will be involved there. I'm definitely going to be keeping my eye on him, and I would need a little bit more information than he just did walkthroughs, especially with the price tag of 12.5 to utilize him there. Rashid Saheed, another valuable target there.
Yes.
So if Chris Olave isn't playing, obviously he'll probably take over that number one receiver role there. And with the salary of a 9,500, he does even look a little bit, as kind of a pay down value for Chris Olave. Now, This is crazy. Looking into it, there's like 3 or 4 other receivers for the Saints, and it's pretty crazy looking at them. This A.T. Perry, Lynn Bowden Jr., Keith Kurtwell. It's nuts. They're all actually pretty viable. They all actually basically have the same snap count. I looked over online there. So he's getting 2 targets. He looks like he caught 2 bombs. He got 4 points. This A.T. Perry guy there. Lynn Bowden, I believe he 5 targets, 3 receptions. And then I believe the Keith Kurtwell is the one that ended up with the touchdown. 1 catch, 7 yards for the touchdown. So at 6K, you're hoping for that particular play.
Right.
But these 3 would kind of be that pay down and kind of hope player right here, at least on the Saints side for me. So how do you see these? There's quite a bit of receivers I just went over, and kind of blew through them pretty fast because there's I think 8 that I'm actually looking at.
I'm with you. I mean, Cooper Kupp is Cooper Kupp. He's back. The Cooper Kupp of old is back. He is going to be, to me, a pretty key component if they're going to win this game. So I'll have plenty of exposure to him. Quick off, they claim to be playing in a dome. I looked up the Rams Stadium. Would you consider that a dome?
Yeah, the roof closes. The roof closes.
I mean, but you see the whole sky and everything. Like, that's just interesting. It actually looks cool, to be honest.
For $6 billion,
it better be, yeah. I just thought that was interesting that was a dome, because when I picture a dome, I don't picture the natural lighting coming in like that, but it looks awesome. And again, okay, this is let's see, so 5:15, because we're Pacific Standard Time. I mean, I know that's the typical, or wait, I mean, 5:15, and they're on the West Coast. I guess it will be, just starting to get dark. I was just trying to picture if the receivers were going to be looking up at any sun as it was setting or something like that. I don't think that'll be too big of an issue. Anyway, Cooper Kupp, put him in your lineups. Obviously, the Chris Olave news is huge. That completely impacts, as you mentioned, those other receivers. Regardless whether Olave's in or not, I'll definitely have some Rashid Shaheed in my lineups. His salary at 9,500 is just too good to pass up on with what his upside is, and versus going like a kicker or a defense or something like that that's in that same price range. Puka Nacua at 12K, definitely, depending on how many lineups you're making. I mean, he's been targeted at least 7 times in each of the last 3 games. He's we know he's doing great.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really going to come down to the Olave news and picking the right other pay down person to me. Now, and Olave could easily, even if he does play, man, these ankle sprains, and it could be a high one. Who knows? It could just take one small, even a non-contact route cut, and he could be done with the rest of the game. So um, I'm going to be, you know, kind of going in some lineups as if that may happen as well. Like, I'm showing that his snap count, you know, decreased 34 to 0. Like you mentioned, that's because he was out last game.
But at the same time,
So,
the Rams are ranked 28th, giving up a crap ton of yards, about
shoot,
180.
for yeah, no, I'm with you on that. Which is why, again, I like Shaheed, and then I also I like an AT Perry. Yeah, some of these, that 6,500. I mean, yeah, that's probably where I'll probably draw the line. I'm not doing an optimizer or any of that. I'll be handcrafting my lineup, so it'll be interesting. But yeah, I don't think there's much need to go over. A lot of these guys are superstars, and then it's going to just rely heavily on this news. So keep your eyes on the news with Olave. I'm pretty sure he'll suit up and give it a go, but we'll see. It'll be interesting. It's on a short week, so that's huge. So kind of bringing us over to the tight ends. Wow, that's interesting. So Taysom Hill's the most expensive tight end on there, even though he's even considered a tight end too. Obviously, as I've mentioned, he does it all though. He's not just a tight end. This will be my what I think will be a lower own. I think his projected ownership is around 14%, somewhere between 14 and I think under 20%. Put it that way. I'm hoping to do a couple single entries or lower field tournaments where that ownership should be even a little lower, and sneaking him in there. And regardless, he's a great tournament play if that ownership projection ends up being correct. As far as the tight end one, Jawan Johnson for the Saints, so he's at 8K. I mean, yeah, it's some of the stats I'm seeing aren't looking really too great. Matchup wise, basically, the Chargers are allowing 38%, 38 to 40% less fantasy points to tight ends when they're at home. I mean, that's huge. We know playing at home and playing away is a big deal. It's actually probably the biggest deal out of any of the sports, the major sports that are played. And tight ends, they are averaging, almost 50% more fantasy points against non-divisional opponents. So that is huge. That's kind of an interesting conundrum there. But and then as far as Tyler Higbee, if we jump over to the Rams, I know that the Saints aren't doing too well as far, they're giving up, they're ranked dead last at allowing touchdowns to tight ends over the last 9 games. So obviously that's good. And they're, in the bottom 5 with allowing receiving yards. So, at 7,500, I think having him in a couple of lineups, is obviously smart, and that's cool. And then other than that, some of these other tight ends, we'll kind of have to see. We'll kind of have to wait and see on Olave, but that's kind of where I'm at. How do you feel about the tight ends?
Yeah, piggybacking on the Higbee, I think he's a pretty nice play. He does get targets. He does, he had a two touchdown game. Unfortunately, he is competing with Kupp, Nakua, Tutu Atwell, things like that, and also not to mention, Kyrie Williams is eating up 25, snaps. I believe looking back at, their average snap count was 69.1 throughout the year. If Kyrie's taken up 25 of those, so that's basically a little over 30% is going to the run. So now you're talking about divvying up the remainder to the receivers, and unfortunately he's just getting the short end of the stick. However, being that Saints are dead last against the tight end, definitely bumps him up on my pecking order, at least maybe over a Tutu Atwell, just simply because the salary wise. So that will definitely be a good play. Oh, I guess they're actually the same. Tutu Atwell is the same, so I can interchange those. And it might be if you want to save salary and maybe fade Puka this time, you think Higbee's going to do it, that might be, lineup kind of base. So there are options. I do not like the Saints tight ends. And that's not just because I don't like them. It's just there's four of them. Like you mentioned,
I saw that.
Taysom Hill. I mean, he's a quarterback, running back. We might see him as a punt returner, cornerback, maybe defensive end one time. I don't know. So if he has one of those days where the jack of all trades, is needed and he does well, then obviously looking here, 22, 19, that'd be amazing. However, if you get one of those floor games, which seems to be the little bit more majority of it, but like you mentioned, at 10K, having that low floor and high ceiling, I think might put people off more than if he was like an 8,500. Then going down to another tight end, Jawan Johnson, great pass catcher, 2, 3, 7, 3, 5. Then he's still around. Jimmy Graham sitting at 6K. He's had a touchdown in the last 3 games.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think he's like 6'8", 6'7", 6'8".
Matt.
So he's just playing, catch there in the end zone with Derek Carr. Then you also another valuable Foster Moreau, 5 targets, 2. So it's just like they're all getting targets, they're all getting catches. It's just nothing's great. I mean, Jimmy Graham is probably, I would say, the best because he seems to be most consistent with the touchdowns. But does he do it again? Hey, they're going against the last place, Rams against tight ends. So does Jimmy Graham? I don't see him getting yards, but he could be getting, 1 or 2 touchdowns in the red zone. And at 6K, that frees up a ton of salary there. So that's just why the tight end is going to if I went with a Saints tight end, that would be probably the most difficult for me to choose which one to utilize.
Yeah, and I think, at least the other 2 salaries, on the other ones are lower. So, trying to find, like Graham is 6K. I mean, that's solid. Over the last 8 weeks, he's got 4 red zone targets. He's got 3 touchdowns. As we know, those also obviously came in the last, 3-4 weeks. But he's 4 for 4. Now Taysom Hill, he has 21 rushing attempts over the last 8 games with 78 rushing yards and 4 rushing touchdowns. And then he's got 24 red zone tries. He does have a receiving touchdown. So, I mean, 24 receiving tries. The next closest is Jawan Johnson at 5, and then Jimmy Graham at 4. So it's just with what everything he does is why I want to take the risk. However, putting in a Jimmy Graham, Graham, I think I'm going to go Graham over Johnson, mainly because of the 6'7", 265, big boy, big target, kind of like a Palmer for the Chargers. When that whole thing, but yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. I just there's just such a high difference, and then Tyler Higbee, obviously for the Rams. I mean, he's another great tight end in the NFL. So
so that's basically the tight ends there. So moving on over, last but not least, the kickers' defenses. I'll sprinkle a few of the kickers in. I think I'd be more. I think I'll have more of the Saints kicker, just because I trust Stafford to get touchdowns more than I trust Derek Carr to get touchdowns. I mean, that's basically what it comes down to. Definitely won't be having some of the defenses in here. Both of these defenses were actually in the optimal lineups fairly recently, where the Rams were in at week 13 at Cleveland, and which is actually pretty impressive. And then the Saints were their defense was in the optimal when they went against Carolina, so that's not too impressive.
Right. For sure, yeah.
But so I mean, both QBs are prone to turnovers. Stafford has the potential to throw a bunch of interceptions. So does Derek Carr. So the defenses are definitely alive in this one. As far as putting them in the MVP, if I did 100 lineups, maybe 5 total. Between the two defenses would have those in them in some kind of variation, but that's about it.
Yep. As far as the defenses go, I'll have a little bit of exposure. It will be a little bit more to the Rams than it would be the Saints, not just because they're at home. Not just because they're favored by 4, but they're in a very tough division. So I mean, dude, they've had to play Seattle twice. They had to play San Francisco twice. I know they've played us once so far. I believe we're playing them.
Week 18.
We come from a tougher division, and plus, they've played the likes of Dallas, Dallas, Cleveland, Baltimore, versus basically, the Saints have played Carolina twice, Tennessee, Chicago, Atlanta, possibly the Giants probably end up playing them twice. Just not a strong division. So, I won't really have access to the Saints defense. As far as the kickers go, I always like to have the kicker, like I'll have them sprinkled in for sure. It is interesting that that Balake group is 500 less. He does have upside of 19. So that's good to know that he does have that upside. And actually, the last time he was 8.5K is when he hit it. Then they bumped him up to 9K since then. And now he's back down at 8.5K. Is that a sign? Could be.
I don't know. Before we get too far, I don't know if you meant to do it, but if you did like the key and peel skit,
I did.
Okay,
no, it's not.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I did the full on guy.
Got it.
Oh yeah, I'm a big Key and Peele fan for sure.
Okay, I just wanted. I was like, maybe he just read. He just read that.
Oh man, that'd be so great if I did that not knowing the skit. That would be hilarious.
Hilarious and embarrassing, however you want to put it.
Oh, I know, right? For sure. So, yeah, man, it's I'm looking forward to the matchup. The lineup construction is fun. It seems like, it's not difficult. We don't have a guy who's 17-5. Or multiple guys up in. I know that we have quite a few that are, we got 16, 15, 5, 15, 14, 5, 14, but at least that's still completely different than having 17, 5, 17, 16, 15, 15, 5. So this will be a fun one to make some different lineups with. I guess.
Speaking of lineups, let's shift over to your lineup here and see what you got.
So, I went ahead and no shocker here. I got Kyron Williams at the MVP. I do see the Rams pulling this one out. So if I'm game scripting that they're going to, I do think that they will be up in the second half. I think, I see them having a pretty steady hold on this game. I know it's only 4 points according to Vegas. I see them winning by probably more of a 7 to 10 points. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, he's at MVP. And then, I had to go Stafford. He's got to. This is a big game. This is huge. Stafford's got to show up. And by going him, obviously you want to link him up with a pass catcher. So I went ahead and went with Demarcus Robinson at 8,500. He's got. He has touchdowns against Cleveland and Baltimore. And then Washington, their last game. That's against defense ranked number 1 and number 2, and he has touchdowns in both. So he's clearly a red zone target. He's got 5 targets against Cleveland. It doubled against Baltimore with 10, 3 targets. Either way, this dude was getting touchdowns. So, I went ahead and got him lined up with Stafford, and I decided to do the 3-2 because I don't see this game getting out of control or anything like that. New Orleans has a lot to play for as well, so it should be a great atmosphere. Rashid Shaheed, he's been, I just know he at 9,500, he has an upside that can win you a tournament, especially at that price. His targets, at least over the last 3 games, have been up, more than usual. He's got 9. He had 9 against Minnesota 3 games ago. Then he had 5 against Atlanta, and then I think obviously he's had some injuries, which is why he's kind of been in and out. With no injury designation for this game, should be looking good there. And then finally, like I mentioned, my lineup looks chalky obviously, and then until you see Taysom Hill at 10K, I think that's what's going to make the lineup not quite as chalk. It is a risky play, but it's high risk, high reward. I could see them breaking out some of those fancy plays, especially if the game's close. And he's just a guy that can do it all. And I just really like him as a player. I got good vibes. It's showing that he's going against the 31st ranked, against the defensive side of that as well. So, that's what I got. I was able to leave 500 on, so that made me happy as well. What are your thoughts on the lineup, and what are your thoughts on the 3 Rams and the 2 Saints way of going?
Well, I apologize. I actually had my lineup in the very first half of your thing. I changed it, so people are probably thinking what the heck is this guy doing? But as you can see, I mean, we had similar people, but it got down. I'm like, wait, that looks like my lineup. So I changed it. I'll put a little note there. But I agree. Going with the Kyrie Williams, he's going to be owned in the MVP. I don't think he'll be as owned as Stafford. I think he might, to be honest. He'll probably be more owned than Derek Carr. I can see that here. So kind of looking at this is you're assuming that the Rams will be ahead towards the end, and then they're playing catch up.
And that Stafford would kind of spread it around. Maybe he gets one to Cup. Maybe he gets one. They got quite a few nice targets out there. He's got Higbee. People to spread it around to.
I like it. With the slight less ownership with the Williams, Taysom Hill, I could see maybe, if I had to put a number, 15-ish%. I want to say maybe 20.
Right.
I just 10K for Taysom Hill is taking a huge gamble.
I agree.
Shaheed will probably be pretty owned, especially with Olave, even if Olave's playing. Just paying down. He is a quality receiver, and paying down to the 9,500. Because a lot of, like you said, the game log trolls and just people that don't have as much time to do the research will obviously going to lean more towards Olave if he's back. DeMarcus Robinson, that's going to be probably a little bit lower owned play to kind of help, and then that tags along with Stafford. So I like it. Obviously like to go a little bit more salary, but at the same time, as you're about to see in my lineup, I did the exact same with it. So mine, I can see switching over here to mine's going to be a little bit more chalky. And see, that's what I did. I loaded your lineup on mine, and
it's been one of those days. It's just been one of those days, bro.
All right, anyways, now it's updated. MVP, Kyrie Williams doing the same thing. I think he's going to have a field day with the Saints here. However, I'm kind of game scripting that he's going to, probably sneak away with 2 touchdowns. Game's going to be, kind of not out of necessarily out of hand, but the Saints will be playing catch up here in the fourth quarter. So I went with Higbee, just to kind of have that 3-2 Saints to 2 Rams. And so, but playing catch up, obviously Carr's going to have a good time. I went with Olave in this situation. But that's obviously news dependent on that. I just basically put him in there as a high value thing because it's easy to change out or swap swap to basically whoever I want. past, I guess, receiver wise. So, and then moving down to Rashid Saheed. So hopefully Derek Carr gets to them while trying to play catch up to the Rams. But yeah, I think this will definitely be chalkier than yours. I'm just hoping with basically, obviously, a little bit less ownership with Williams, the Derek Carr play, and then, Higbee. Hopefully that's enough to kind of offset and, maybe sneak into like the middle field of the tournament. Did I lose you? Oh, well, might have lost David here. Yep, I think he's back.
All right. Yep. Sorry about that. I guess I somehow got disconnected there for a second. I am back.
Well, basically just went over the lineup here. Kyrie Williams, Derek Carr, Chris Olave, Higbee, and Shaheed. So
okay,
little
nice.
Little bit chalkier. Just kind of playing the little bit less ownership with Carr and Higbee, and then obviously it's Olave news based.
I had heard where it cut out was you said you could make some type of swap out kind of easily, and I was interested to hear.
Using Chris Olave at the high, the 12.5, I can basically swap him out with anybody. Obviously, if the news came in, or just as a multiple entry kind of thing, where like I'll use this one, then obviously swap him out, and then obviously he is one of the higher ranked receivers, if not the second highest ranked. So I could basically swap this line out with any other receiver I see fit, with the exception of Cup. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I think it's
nice.
I was saying it's I don't see it maybe it'll definitely be chalky. I'm just hoping it's good enough to meet like middle of the field kind of tournament wise. So
I mean hey, we're here to obviously the lineups we give out for free, we want them to take first place, but also most importantly, we want you to double your money. If the lineup can get in and make the money, and it's again been given out for free, then we feel like we're doing our jobs right, and hopefully you're taking in, again, just take in what we say, and if you got your own extra stats and opinions, like just use this as a reference and make a couple changes yourself. I mean, nothing wrong with doing that. And if you end up doing that, definitely reach out in the comments and let us know what changes you made and why. I love talking fantasy. I talk fantasy with strangers at the mall, with strangers at the gas station. I just love talking sports and promoting Fanduel. Fanduel should be, well, they are sending me checks, but not endorsement ones yet.
There you go. All right, so with that, like we always do, we just kind of want to know whose lineup you would enter in, or like he mentioned before, let us know in the comments if you would change a person or two, or even some of your ideas. We'd like to hear feedback. Constructive criticism is always welcome. So yeah, just make sure you drop a comment. Love to hear from you, and like you said, and hopefully get some winning lineups again this week. We seem to be on a decent win-loss ratio, so hopefully that continues here. Before we get over to our predictions, another tournament announcement.
Yes, sir. I was just building that as we speak. As we do for each Thursday night and Sunday night single game FanDuel matchups, just take a look at a link in the description. There will be a link to a free, that's right, absolutely free. The first 100 people that get into it, then it closes up. It is open to the public. Enter in what you think is the best lineup, and if your lineup ends up beating mine, beating my cousin David's, and you take first place, I'm still waiting. I'm looking forward to Venmoing someone $100. It's Christmas time. I'm even going to go out on a limb. If you're able to do that, I'm going to go ahead and say 200, just because it's Christmas.
Now I
so
gotta make my lineup
I'm
way better.
I'm going to go ahead and double it just this one time. So $200 Venmoed. The caveat is I just need to see proof that you like the video, you subscribe to the channel, you hit that notification bell, and we want to welcome you to the DF Insights family. So that's right. I'm doubling it this time. Doubling it for the holidays. It's absolutely free. So, once the video is posted, make sure you get your lineup in there before it fills up, because it does usually fill up pretty quickly.
Oh shoot! Now I gotta rethink my lineup of $200 now. All right, well let's start it off. MVP, value pick, and your overall game score predictions.
It's great. So, man, this is tough. As much as I'm thinking Williams, to be honest, my gut is saying Stafford. I just all the good stuff I've heard about him over the years and whatnot. He was, people didn't fully trust him in Detroit, but it was like, no, dude, he's the guy. He's gonna get you a championship, and he did bring them a championship. So, I think he's been in big games. This is a huge game for the Rams. I got Stafford as my MVP, as my low-owned pick that is definitely going to be boom or bust. But if it's more boom, you will win some large field tournaments, whatever type of tournament it is you're entering in. That's going to be Taysom Hill at the 10,000. I know that the salary isn't favorable, but it's all about the lower ownership, and even at the 10K, he can still blow that out of the water as far as value. So, that's my MVP, my value pick. And then as far as the game goes, I definitely got the Chargers winning this one. Favored by 4, over under is 45. Most primetime games have not hit the over. This is one I could see the over actually happening. I think I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 35. I'm gonna go 38 Rams and 24 Saints. 38-24. I know that's high, and I know that's way higher than the over-under that's on there, but I see this. That's, a lot of times Vegas is freaking way off. So, yep, that's what I got. What do you got? Who's your MVP? Who's your value? And what do you see as the score?
Yeah, Vegas is pretty spot on with the Raiders game. Under was 30, and the game total was 90. So yeah, they're pretty accurate. All
right.
MVP. So who do I think, or who do I want? No, who do I think? I think Stafford will probably take it for sure. Just he has so many weapons. The only thing that will hinder him, I think, would be the Kyren Williams getting rushing touchdowns. Who do I want to be MVP? I know I had Kyren Williams in that lineup, but I would like to see Derek Carr at the MVP because he will be low owned. So obviously those lineups will be, ripe for the pickings if he actually hits it. So I will have definitely several Derek Carr MVP lineups. But yeah, no, definitely Stafford.
That's all.
Their value play, it's tough for me. To be honest, it's going to be, I think, one of these three Saints receivers: A.T. Perry, Lynn Bowden Jr., Keith Kurtwell. If I had to pick one of them, probably Bowden Jr., Lynn Bowden Jr. Kurtwell did get the touchdown last time, but he has the least amount of targets out of all of them there. But even Jimmy Graham's looking viable at 6K. So, just that cluster of people right there. I guess. As far as my prediction, Rams I think are going to win this, and I think it's 31-27. 31-27 Rams. So,
27.
And with that, wrap it up here. So, make sure you guys like, subscribe, do all the things. We hate to keep harping on it, but obviously that's how we get, able to grow. And the more likes, comments, subscribes we get put in front of more people. So hopefully you guys do enjoy this and you can help us out in that situation. But with that,
and we got lots of we got NBA content. I know we keep saying it after each video, but we will have NBA content coming soon. We're working hard on getting that out to you guys. Very excited about that. That will be after our slate, so this will really let you get home from work no matter where you live, and still have some time typically before lock, because a lot of times those after hour slates lock at 7 or 7:30 Pacific Standard
after
Time.
Hour slate grouped in with the breaking down the single games of each of those slates too, because obviously the single game is different than the slates. So we're still working on obviously getting that structure together and putting that out there for everybody. And with that, any last words?
With that, Christian McCaffrey for MVP. I mean, dude, who? I mean, if not, it's Brock Purdy, which no one wants to give it to because it's ridiculous. So if it's going to go to a non-quarterback, which I think if anyone is deserving of it, it's definitely Christian McCaffrey. I mean, as long as he's got to finish out strong. But I mean, if not, things are just rigged. If not,
Tyreek Hill 2,000 passing or receiving yards.
True. No, that's fair. Our schedule, I'm sure is a little bit harder, and we dominated the Cowboys, we dominated the Eagles.
All right, well, let's wrap it up. I'm tired here, so.
Yes. Yep. All right, man. Good luck to everyone out there. Hope you guys all win a lot of money, and we'll see you on the next one.